Hey everybody, what's going on? Classy Video Games here, or CVG, and welcome to a Linux review. Haven't done one of these in a really long time. I used to do them a lot. That used to be primarily what my channel was. And I got a Mac, and I kind of stopped doing that, but I've loaded up VirtualBox, and I've decided to continue reviewing these operating systems because it's something that I'm truly passionate about. I really think the Linux community does a lot of really cool things. And at some point I would like to get another dummy computer to put Linux on and use it more often than I do because I really enjoyed it when I used it. So today I'm going to be looking at Mageia or Mageia. I don't know exactly how you pronounce it. It's written right over here on the bottom of the screen. But I've decided to review this one because it seems to have been climbing DistroWatch a lot relatively recently. So this is the login screen. It's a little bit clunky looking, I think, in terms of login screens compared to some such as Linux Mint and the like, who put a lot of effort into their login screens, but I still think that it gets the job done. Now, you can just simply click on your name and log yourself in, and you also get the option to pick your desktop environment here if you have multiples, which is always a nice feature indeed. Now we're going to go ahead and log in and start the actual review. This is a KDE 4 desktop, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And I have taken a few minutes to just mess around with it and just kind of see exactly what it has to offer. It doesn't seem to be liking some of the extensions I put on here, some of the plasmids, I guess, you put on here, which is funny because I've been playing a lot of Bioshock recently. And plasmid is a term I've used a lot, but for a completely different reason. Now I have this set up to have, of course, a home folder. I have a time, like a clock up here. I have a CPU monitor. I have a disk space monitor. This was supposed to be a file or like a complete system monitor, so it would like flash colors if something was a problem, but obviously since it's a VirtualBox, it's not entirely sure what it's looking at. And then I decided, for me, I put a root folder here because I normally, when I play around with Linux, I tend to get into the root files quite frequently. So that is kind of how I've laid this out. Now you'll see it has a pretty clean looking interface so far. At a first look you'd think it's just a slightly maybe Windows 90 or Windows XP, Windows Classic-esque desktop, and you wouldn't be wrong there. That's exactly what it reminds me of. So as far as the menu goes, we have a relatively standard setup here. For internet, we have Blue Devil for Bluetooth. We have Firefox, as always. Most things do anymore. We have IM, so if you want to use an instant messenger, you have that. You have a log viewer, so an IM log viewer if you want to see. I'm not entirely sure. I would assume that if you want to see what you've done on instant messaging recently, you have that as an option. You have KNet attach, which I'm not entirely sure. It's a network folder, I guess. Network folder setup if you want to do like a network thing amongst, like, I know a lot of Windows computers have network things where you can like share folders amongst computers on your network. You have a Conqueror, which is another web browser, which I think I almost prefer over Firefox. You have Conversation, which is another IRC client, sort of an IM, but for more Linux related stuff, or at least it tends to be, because that's most Linux distributions come with that, and that seems to be how the Linux community reaches out to each other. You have a dial-up tool, in case you still have dial-up at this point in the game, and you of course have a network center if you want to look at any and all internet settings. For Office, you get the standard LibreOffice suite. Doesn't seem like anything super different is going on here. I'll load it up and check. And yeah, as you can see, you can just open up a Word document, or writer document I guess, and just type away with no real issues. So there's that. If you need to do any sort of papers or presentations of any kind, you can use LibreOffice, which I actually use on my Mac. It's right down at the bottom here. I have LibreOffice. You can't see it though. I have Acquire Images, which I would assume is like you can look through a camera or things like that. That's what I gathered from when I was looking through it. You have a image converter if you want to go from one image type to another. You of course have the lovely GIMP as always. You have the KDE image viewer, which is a Gwen view, which I actually really like. You get screen capture. You get K-Snap if you want to capture your screen and take pictures of it. You get LibreOffice Draw. It's kind of like a paint program. And then you get Ocular, which is a document viewer in case you have like PDFs or things of that sort. For sound and video, you have Amarok, which is one of the better audio players I think I've ever seen. You have AMZ Downloader, which I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I would assume it's a music downloader of some form. I'm not really into the downloaders too much, so I don't tend to mess with them. You do have a video player. You get a sound mixer called K-Mix. You get KSCD for any CDs you want to play. You get Pulse Audio for volume control. You get TV Time to watch TV, I guess. I haven't looked into that too much. And then, of course, you get the lovely VLC, which I also use on my Mac. I've gotten a lot of the programs I use on my Mac came from my Linux explorations. So there's that. Shows you how much Linux has impacted my life, and I really do want to continue using Linux. What is this down here? Is this the welcome thing? Where is that? Why is that not showing up? It has actually a really nice. It has a really nice. Oh crap! It has a very nice welcome manager, I guess. I mean, like in terms of, welcome managers or welcome screens. It has a nice one, so it pops you in and says, welcome, whatever your name is, and it gives you access to the control center. It goes through how to configure media, and it goes through how to install software, which I think is quite nice, and then it gives you a list of applications that it thinks you are going to want. So that is always cool, that it gives you suggested applications. So it's like, here's Flash, here's Pigeon, here's Thunderbird, and all of these other things that it thinks you're going to like. And then it also gives you, of course, links to any and all documentation, any support, and then community centers if you want that kind of, if you need that kind of help, which I suggest if you are new to Linux, I very much suggest that you do that, because I was one of those people who thought, oh no, I don't need that. And sure enough, I learned, but it took me quite a long time. So for system tools, you get the control center, which we'll go into in a minute. That's kind of your control center naturally. You get your system settings, which I would assume is, it's more settings, but the control center kind of goes over that. I'll go over that more in depth, kind of in the same vein. You get Dolphin for your file manager, which is the greatest file manager of all time. I wish I could use it on my Mac, because the ability to split windows and be able to drag and drop just from here is like the best thing I've ever seen. I really cannot say enough about this. In fact, it's why I want to use KDE. Oh no, I've moved my entire window. Oh man, hopefully that didn't show up, but if it did, but yeah, I really want to use Dolphin when I get a new computer to run Linux on. I think I'm going to use KDE because I really like KDE. You get K3B for disk burning. You get K-System Guard for your system monitor. You get K-Wallet for like a finance manager. It's like a wallet management. You get a net applet that of course goes through network settings. Then you get the network center, which is a more in-depth version of the other, what was it called? I was just looking at it. Of the net applet. Looks like it's taking a while to load up here. And yes, this is loading kind of slow because I am running this in a VirtualBox. So apologies for that. It will run better when you install it full-time on a computer, naturally. And this is not wanting to launch. So I guess I can't force quit this. I guess it's just going to bounce in the background. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's just desktop settings. That was totally worth my time. Anyways, well, there's that if you want that. Then you get your Pulse Audio preferences. You get the archiving tool Arc, which is a pretty good archiving tool, I think. You get K-Calculator for your scientific calculator needs. You get a character sheet for like a character selector if you need special characters for any reason, for any perhaps international business you might be doing, or anything else that might use special characters if you're trying to type in a special way. You get Clipper for your clipboard. You get Console, which is your terminal. You get KWriter, which is kind of your default text editor. And then, of course, it's giving you regional settings in case you want to, in case you do a lot of travel. You can very easily switch switch languages within a degree. It seems to be doing variants of English, but still, you have that option. Then for games, it took me a while to figure out how to do this, but you can in fact install games. I got Angband here, which is kind of a we'll just boot up a random person here. It's perfect. But yeah, it's kind of a dungeon crawler-y thing. Singing Happy Drunk Pigs. But yeah, see, it's just kind of a little Netrunner-esque RPG there. I was just downloading it to test it. You get LibreOffice Math for your science, your special science thing for your install manager. What did you have here? I knew this. I had this all prepared, and now I'm blanking. Why isn't it launching? It doesn't seem to want to launch for me, but you can in fact install software, which is of course where I got the game. You got to take my word for that. And it of course goes through your favorites based on what you use a lot, and then it does recently used applications. You can of course run commands if you need a special command for something, and then from there you can open activities and other things of that sort. And then of course you can save, quit, sleep, hibernate, shut down, all of that other stuff. So let's go ahead and we'll go more in depth at the system tools. We'll go to the control center here, just as a start, if it will launch. It seems to not want to launch, which I'm not quite understanding. Okay, just close that. Let's just close that out. It's not doing anything impressive right now. Why don't the tools want to launch? Come on, launch the stupid control center. Launch the control center. It's not launching the control center. It'll launch the system settings. Okay, well it gets a lot of the same stuff done. The control center, I guess, is just a prettier version of this same thing. Of course, you can go through really anything you could ever need to. So it even shows you what is in your what is in each of these categories if you hover over it, which I really like. So say if you wanted to change the appearance, you could do Windows. If you wanted it to look like old Windows, because that is an option for you. Say yes, I want to apply this option. You can change the color scheme if you wanted kind of a different color scheme to go along with everything. If you wanted it to be darker, or you wanted it to be more of a purpley, or if you wanted it to just be kind of a how would you describe that? Kind of a I can't remember the term for it. There's a term for what that color style is. It's the same one my mom uses actually. But yeah, you can you can like select different icons for things. You can change fonts. You can use emoticons for stuff, and all of that kind of stuff is in appearance. You can do notifications. You can do file associations, shortcuts, workspace, desktop effects if you wanted to do fancy special effects, which I don't want to in a virtual box. You can go through multimedia, you can go through network preferences, you can do what you do, like display preferences, which is a big one. You can pick your screen locker, which they actually have some very nice screens. If you do like a test of these screen lockers, they have really nice screensavers, which I really do appreciate. And then of course you can set up which display you want to use, and you can pick how big it is and all that good stuff, all that really important stuff. So you can say, hey, I want it to be the actual size of my monitor, and that sort of business, which now this looks kind of silly because I set it to my actual size. But yeah, we'll go ahead and go into the network center, maybe, if it'll launch. I don't think it's going to launch. Oddly enough, it's not going to launch. But as you can see, it's just kind of a basic KDE environment. If you're someone like me who really likes the KDE style, kind of likes the customization of the KDE, I would say this is a big contender. It seems to have a lot of more office-based, I guess more so office-based things. It's not really kind of a gamer's setup, I guess is how I would say it. but it does seem to be, if you just need to be able to get on, if you're like Facebook mom, you just need to get on the internet and check your Facebook and write up a letter to your children who moved out, or email them, or things like that. Just for basic computer needs, I really think this will fit the bill for you. Anyways, that's all I have right now for Mageia. Maybe I'll come back later and re-review it when I've looked into it a little bit more, but this has kind of been a first impressions. Overall, I think it's worth your time if, again, you're a Facebook mom or something of the sort, or grandma, just something that they can kind of pretty easily pick up and go, and you can update it for them, whatever they need. But anyways, long story short, I suggest this if you have very basic computer needs. So anyways, thank you very, very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.